I cannot even imagine having to run from my home in the darkness of night with fear for my life because of my religious belief or because of I chose to speak out against the government policy. The new Americans that I have had the opportunity to interact with have come here for a variety of different reasons. Mostly they come here excited at the opportunity to be in America, to have an opportunity for a better life, to have an opportunity for freedom of choice, freedom of religion, freedom of expression, freedom to gain a good education, the freedom to have a better life for their children.
My family and I left Somalia when I was 5 years old in 1993, and there was a war starting up in our country. But my parents wanted the safety for my brothers and I, so we escaped at night. And we didn't like none of my brothers really knew why we were leaving. It was just it happened to us. It just happened randomly at night. It was my mom and my brothers and my dad actually stayed behind, and we left with a boat actually, and we were on the road for a few nights, and it felt like it was forever.
And was we were in class, and the teachers announced a siren, and they told the kids to disperse and to go home because the North Sudan are coming to bomb. Now the bombing is a constant bombing. Usually they come once a week and they bomb us, but this time around it was 4 planes.
I remember the Saddam Hussein regime was real powerful on everybody. The government were walking into people's houses, taking them away for no reason. They either getting killed or you never see them again. That country was really hard to live in. It was really scary. You couldn't even take a deep breath without thinking you're either gonna get killed or You're going to be taken away for something you have not done.
Now, when the siren alarm went off, the kids just start running. And my siblings and I came together and found ourselves. And everybody found their own siblings and their friends. And we just start running home. And when we were running, everybody just scattered everywhere. You can see school uniforms, little kids just running home. So we start running home. And on our way home, I believe the plane was coming to the lower level because we couldn't tell, we were just children. And there was a guy who recognized us, and he said, "You kids, I know you guys, and I know your dad, and you guys need to take cover because the plane is about to bomb right now. Take cover, take cover." And on the road that leads to the house, to our home, there were trenches on the road. So we just jumped into the trenches, and my sister was in front of me. I was behind my sister, and my younger brother was behind me. We all lay down and we took cover. And as soon as we took cover, there was a explosion right in front of us on the tree, and it was like a huge cotton tree, and the bomb exploded.
In 1991, I was 5 years old when I got hit by grenades. Shrapnels went to my eyes. I remember that day. There was so much blood on my face. I was carried to the hospital by my uncle and his friends. When I woke up at the hospital, all I saw was darkness.
And I didn't really feel anything, and we were all in fear. And I felt a touch on my arm, on my right arm, but I didn't bother looking. And when we felt like the plane subside or moving away, my sister then grabbed me and she said, "Let's keep running, let's keep running, let's go home." And as we were going to run, she grabbed my arm. She felt, something wet, and she looked at her arm and she said, "There's blood everywhere." And she said, "Well, she's not injured. Who's injured?" She looked at me and she saw me. She said, "You're injured." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm not injured. What are you talking about?" And she said, "Look." And then I looked at my arm, and my two bones were broken. I can see them sticking out, and I was bleeding everywhere. The meat from my arm was all out, and I just started crying. And I told her, that's when I began to feel the pain. I told her, if I'm gonna die, just let me know right now. You guys can keep running. And she said, no, you're not gonna die. I promise you, you're not gonna die. Let's just keep running.
I learned that I was blind, but I was really young to understand it. However, I couldn't be normal like other kids. I couldn't play by myself. I couldn't walk by myself. I couldn't do anything. It was really hard on me and my family. My family were really sad about the fact I lost my vision, but there isn't anything for them to do.
And we couldn't run far because I was just sitting there in shock. I looked around, there was dead bodies everywhere. This lady was running with the child behind her back. The baby was missing a head, and she was just keeping running. And my friends were dead, and school children were dying everywhere. You can see them because they're wearing uniforms. and we just kept running while we were crying. We were just kids. There were just kids everywhere. And we went under this one big tree. We hide underneath because we heard the planes are still coming. And we sat there, we were crying and crying and crying. And when the planes left, my sister and I and everyone else, got up and we kept running. We ran, we ran, we ran.
I had to stay home pretty much all day. There really wasn't enough or anything for me to do. The resources for a blind visual like myself did not exist in such a place like Iraq. As a child, I did not attend a school. That was really hard for me. I wanted to go to school. I wanted to play with kids. I just wanted to live as a normal child.
Once we arrived in Kenya, we came to a refugee camp where anybody who escaped from their country, like in the United Nations, they'll accept you in, and you get your own card. They take all the names down, and it was just my mom and my four other brothers at the time because my dad was still back in Somalia taking care of all the other things that we had down there. And you actually get a tent, and you kind of start to get a reality check there, where it's like you used to live in a house, but now everybody's living in a tent. And even though you kind of see familiar faces, things are different. You get food monthly, but it's not like what you really eat. It's like they have like corn and stuff like that, and beans and rice.
We left the countryside. We walked out of Sudan to Uganda. And on our way to Uganda, honestly, we didn't know if we were going to make it. And we have no idea what to expect as well. We just start walking. And what we encounter on the road is people who died a day or two before. And we have soldiers also who got injured and they were going back to their stations. And we have people who are crying, asking for help. And we were so scared, we didn't even know what to do, but we have to keep walking. We have to keep going to a place, to our destination. So we finished our food. We have nothing else to eat, and we didn't have any more water to drink. So what we did is we drank the dirty water, unsanitized water. Actually, the water is green, like literally green, so we just have to drink it. And also a place to sleep. And crossing from South Sudan, where we were, to Uganda is mountainous. It's very rocky. So what we did, we grabbed the tree leaves and we patched it on the area, and that's how we took our rest.
Later on during the ride, my mother told us that we were escaping to Jordan. I remember the whole ride. We were so nervous and scared because we did not want to get caught by the Hussein regime.
Life in the refugee camp is not different from the life in Sudan. And the only difference now is that we rely on UN food, and we also live under tents. And on top of it, we had guinea worms. Now, the guinea worms came from the dirty water that we drank when we were coming from South Sudan to Uganda. And also we heard there were rebels by killing people. So every time we wake up, we said, "Oh, are we safe? And did anyone died?" So we live in a constant fear.
You wake up, you hear like people getting robbed or whatever. You don't have much, but the little things that you have, somebody can just come in, just take your belongings, and there's not really no authority really to go like tell authority, and at the same time, there's nothing they can do for you. The process that we went through, my family and I went through, was that it was an interviewing process. Once you pass the interviewing, like everybody had the same story, and then you go to a health screening that makes sure everybody's healthy. If not, they give you like medication, and this goes for like all the other refugees. And then once everybody goes through the process, they post the names of families who are made it for a flight to come to the U.S. Fortunately, which we were happy, we were one of the family who were picked.
My father came from Kenya to Uganda, the camp, to pick us up from Uganda, and we all left from Uganda to Kenya. And when we got to Kenya, we were in Kenya for about a year before he applied for the process to come to America. So when he applied for the process for us, for the whole family to come to America, he got accepted. Then we went through some training. Now the training took us about 2 weeks or 3 weeks maximum, and then after that we went through some immunization process. After we passed everything, that's when the green light for us to come here to America.
Arriving to Jordan in August of 1999, I remember that moment. It was really tough because we had to wait patiently on getting the right answers. I remember going to the American Embassy once a week to check to see what's going on with our case. Sometimes we had answers, and sometimes we didn't even get an answer whether it was yes or no. Finally, in February 20th of 2000, that's when we received our visas. Now I remember that moment. We got back home, we were clapping, really happy. I remember I was crying because, yes, finally, we're going to the United States of America.
We're so excited to see actual houses and like pavement back to in the refugee camp. Because all you see is dirt roads, and the whole environment, just fresh air. I'm looking at my brother's eyes. Everybody's so happy just to move away from that environment.
The experience was so awesome. We were just at awe. We were looking at lights, and we were looking at the buildings and the people, and it was a huge transition. I mean, even though we came from Kenya here, we still see similar buildings, but this is gigantic buildings. And it got to my head. My dad once told us, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take you guys to this place. It's called America. It's like heaven. So now the echoing of my dad is back in my head, and I'm like, wow, it is big. It is like heaven. So when we were taken to the hotel, we we just sat there. We're like, oh my goodness, beds. And we start reminiscing when we used to sleep on rugs. We're like, oh my God, this is all mine. And the food, we all had our portion. Everybody have their own individual food. But before, we had to, eat together one plate.
Arriving to Erie, to me, was the greatest moment of my life. For the first time, I got to see my family being happy, and the overall, we felt safe. I never had to worry about waking up and thinking the government coming to take me or my family away. Now, my family and I can live free. I remember arriving to Erie and seeing my father for the first time in 9 years. It was very hard for my father and I to see each other again because this was his first time seeing me as a blind person.
When we walked in, we looked around. It was empty. There was no chairs. There was no couches. And we thought, oh my goodness, I thought we were promised when you get to America, you get everything that you need, because we were told not to take anything. So we waited and we're trying to make everything sink in. And also in terms of food, also we were getting secondhand food, ready-made food, and clothing. We were getting secondhand clothing. So we were just complaining like, Dad, why did we leave our clothes behind? Why did we leave our furniture? We should have brought everything with us. But I mean, we just have to start over, I guess, as refugees. That's the life. And we didn't expect to come to America and start over. But I guess that's reality kicking in.
Going to school, like not speaking the language, teachers talking to you, you get a little frustrated because you don't understand, and there wasn't really somebody to translate for us in the class. So day by the day, we have to go through it and learn the language.
Once I arrived to the United States of America, unlike other new Americans who first arrived here, they only had to learn one language. But for me, I had to learn 2 languages. The English language was really easy for me to learn. The most challenging part was learning Braille.
Just when I went to school, there was many stereotypes. Just because where I came from, people stereotype what they see on television. They think like you living with like tigers and all that stuff, but they really in reality don't know what you went through. So anything they say or it's like what they saw on TV or movies, and trying to explain it to people exactly the environment down there. And another thing is the language barriers. You have an accent, people make fun of your accent and stuff like that. Eventually becoming fluently and even speaking better than the people who are actually born here in the language.
Life here as a new American became more difficult, actually. It went from a physical difficulty to a mental, emotional difficulty. Now, trying to fit into the society, trying to find your place in America as a new American is so hard. Now they immediately see you and they said, you're not from here, you look different, you walk different, you talk different. The most difficult part is how to express your feelings when it comes to responding back. You can't express your feelings, so you internalize the pain. It becomes emotional. And that's the daily life of being in America as a refugee.
In March of 2000, I went to see an eye physician. I was hoping to regain back my vision, however that was not possible. The doctor stated to me that my eyes were extremely damaged from the shrapnels, and the only option available for me is to wear glass eyes.
THIS space, this IS space is REALY space really HARD space hard TO space 2DO space do.
After hearing the doctor's opinion, there wasn't any way possible for me to regain back my vision. It was very hard for my parents to accept. Till today, every time they talk about it, they always have tears in their eyes. When I attended college, it was not enough for me to keep with my education. I always was behind on classes, behind on homework, because the college degree requires for a student to read 180 words per minute. I was able to read only 16 words per minute. I couldn't keep up, no matter how hard I tried. Today, I feel like a failure, because college degree in America, it is really important, especially for me where I come from a different country.
I started college in 2006. My major was business management, and as I went through school, my junior senior year, reality started hitting. Like, wow, I'm finally gonna be finishing school, and I was gonna be the first one. And my parents were so excited for this day, and I was excited because family, friends, everybody was coming to see me graduating and receive my diploma.
Now, that moment when I finished and I'm walking down the stage, going to go get my degree, I just felt overwhelmingly just happy. I feel like, wow, I have came a long way and here I am graduating. I am a new American. I'm part of the American dream, and I'm looking at the students. I'm like, wow, I am with these kids. I am not a failure. All my obstacles, all my struggle just melts away. Like, I blend in. I become part of America. And just my dad's voice just kept coming back to me when he was bringing us here. He said, I bring you to America to become somebody. I bring you here only for education, and you're not here to fail. And at that moment, I felt like I am not a failure, and anything I want to do in life, I can accomplish.
The good thing about being in the workforce is it opened many doors. Like, once you get started and you get the experience, and you like advocate even to youth kids. You see kids who are at risk, they're applying for a job, and you get to interview them, and you actually like give them a chance to start somewhere, at least to learn some experience, to be on their own and stuff like that. And as far as for me being in the workforce, like I'm contributing to society, whatever is paying tax, buying my first home, and actually helping family members who are actually back still in refugee camp. It just makes me happy, and I feel like I'm doing something to give back, and that's the overall goal. Is not just me, but helping other people out.
Today I'm involved with my community. Now the community is called NACHO. NACHO stands for Orugo Speaking Community of North America. And the goal of the organization is to fundraise and send school utensils to South Sudan. And because we just had our 20-year war and we're starting from scratch when it comes to education, and the kids there are lacking school utensils. Now I remember back home we used to break our pencils in half and share it with my siblings, and also we used to write on the ground. And my dad, we used to complain to my father, like, we don't have pencils, we don't have books. And he said, you know what, take the tree branches, use them as your pencils, and use the ground as your books. That's how we learn our ABCs, and that's how we learn how to read. But I'm now very fortunate. I got my education here in America, and I figured, do something to help those who are unfortunate, those who are still back home. So that's my position in the community, to help fundraise and help provide the books and the pencils and everything that a child needs, just the basic school utensils, to the kids in South Sudan.
The message that we're trying to give here is that, look where I came from. I came from a war-torn country in Somalia, which there's still destruction going on. I came from all the way from over there through a refugee camp and came to America. I was given an opportunity to finish my education and continue with my post-secondary education. I used all my past experience as a motivation to succeed in life, whether it was in school or just my personal work life. I just want to tell young kids that don't feed into the negativity that what people tell you. You just have to work hard, keep positive, and be patient. Sometimes things doesn't happen right away. You just have to continue to work hard, and eventually things will pay off.
You can become someone in America. The physical pain and the emotional pain that I have experienced through my whole journey, being a refugee back in South Sudan and also here in United States, can be overcome if you have a will. And you can use me as an example to succeed in anything that you want to succeed in. And you can start from scratch. I came from nothing, and here I am. Despite all odds, I made it through. And on top of it, I'm now, working with kids who are at risk, who are like me. I volunteer at learning centers and helping other kids also who came from the similar situation that I came from. And I'm involved with my community. I'm giving back to my community. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. It is all up in you. It's in your heart, it's in your mind. You just have to have that will, and you just have to keep working on it. You have to keep pushing through. And consistency and practice make it perfect. You will overcome any obstacle that is standing in your way, because I did it, and I know you can do it too.
Coming to United States, if I told you it has been a smooth ride, I'd be lying to you. However, with all the struggles, I continue to live as an independent blind person. I was blessed to go to school in the United States, which is something I never received in Iraq. Even I can see, it has been the greatest time of my life. I continue to receive endless opportunities and live my life like everyone else.